getting pretty hot in here, but I will be keeping my clothes on, Daniel Gaskin.
Please do!
Well, one thing I will tell you is I'm super excited for this next series, Elimination Finals. I feel like a schoolgirl at a One Direction concert.
Honestly, it is like that. It's so exciting to see these teams just kind of make their path through this tournament, and we get rematches upon rematches, we get stories, we get rivalries once more, and these two teams, they've already faced each other in the winners bracket. We've already seen FaZe versus SSG so far this tournament, and FaZe did win 3-1. They took down SSG. Maybe Renegade got a little bit of revenge all the way back from him once leaving that previous team. But now, this is when we start to see SSG come into their own. SSG thrive for these moments, thrive in this elimination final to then get that inevitable grand final possibility.
Well, here is the series layout. In our elimination finals, game 1 is going to be King of the Hill, Recharge. Dan, who's got the edge?
Well, I'd say that Space Station have to have the edge. A, because they beat FaZe on this earlier on already in the tournament. Also, Space Station haven't lost a game 1 in a series all tournament long. If you go back to Worlds, they're at 16-2 in map 1 victories. They are insane at starting off quickly when it comes to any of these tournaments. But as the series goes on and develops, that's when it gets a little bit better for FaZe.
Looking at the tail of the tape then on King of the Hill, and you can see why. FaZe's record 1-3 and 3-1 on the other side of things. You're backed up with the stats.
And if you add on to that, a disappointing loss against Optic Gaming, they're probably not going to be feeling the best about themselves right now. If you suddenly get spanked here by SSG, what does that do to your confidence, right? What does that do going into that map number 2? Are you going to have that belief? Are you going to have that trust in your teammates? The perfect way for FaZe to react to this would to then be beating SSG on one of arguably FaZe's worst game types, but it's certainly going to be a tall task.
Let's talk about it then. Do you expect there to be some sort of hangover from that loss in the last game? Because they pushed Optic to the distance, but this team was built to take down Optic, and they failed their first attempt.
But was it built to take down Optic? Yes. Was it built to take down SSG? Maybe not, and that's when SSG swoop in. That's what SSG always do. And I genuinely believe there is going to be a little bit of a hangover from that winners bracket final, because I think FaZe believed they were going to 3-0 them there. It was cruising, 2-0 up, they looked phenomenal, they were even up in that King, and then they let it slip through their fingers. And it sometimes seems to be the story of old. We happen to see it all over again from tournament to tournament. And as soon as that game slips through, you start to just drop the pace a little bit. You start to maybe lack the belief in yourselves. And then the reverse sweep happens. And unfortunately, that can just snowball out of control. It's very difficult for the mentals. But FaZe Clan, 4 of the most experienced players that could possibly be on that stage to overcome such mental difficulties.
Now SSG, they've been on ice for a little while here. They've been watching the two lines in the winners finals going at it. Now a wounded animal comes down into this elimination finals. Is this a time for SSG to be like a hyena, like the vultures, just picking away at the corpse?
They've done it once, they've done it twice, they've done it thrice. They keep doing it, getting themselves into the grand finals. I think I mentioned it on the desk a little bit earlier, that they are a squad who just knows how to bounce back from that drop into the elimination. And it seems to be happening a lot sooner than maybe what FaZe having to deal with. Because if you have to go onto that main stage again, just after you've lost the game, it's so tough. But if you've had time to go back, talk about it, have a sleep on it, play a game on main stage in the morning against the 4th seed, and then be able to take them down in a commanding fashion, you are definitely going to be on top of the world. And I do believe that SSG will certainly be looking at this series as a potential victory and another grand final on the cards.
Let's talk about Renegade for a moment. He's been at the forefront of almost every single good thing. As you see on your screen, he hits the overkill. He's been so good, instrumental for this FaZe team, but now playing against some of his old teammates again. And although he won before, if SSG take him down here, that first game doesn't matter.
I think that, Renegade's going to look at this one. He's going to still be confident. He's still going to play in the way. He's been insane, by the way, Renegade, this tournament. He has survived absolutely everything. Similarly to what Bound's been doing on SSG. I remember this clip where he was just using the scoreboard to stay alive as much as possible, confidently taking shots against Ryanoob. You've got 8 players who know how to survive in a game of Halo Infinite. And I've always stressed one of the most important things is survivability. Avoid fights you don't need to be taking, but then get involved with fights to ensure you're helping your team when maybe you're struggling a little bit. Back to your point on Renegade, he is going to be one of the key factors here for FaZe Clan if they are going to bounce back from that winners final loss.
FaZe Clan. This squad was forged to win championships. They were dubbed the God Squad. They've had their wings clipped. and they find themselves in the elimination finals. Are they about to be demons? Or are the grand final guardians gonna stand tall here? Shields up, weapons hot, we're underway.
And FaZe have to start hot. I already told you what Space Station do in map 1 of a series. They have dominated this tournament when it comes to that first map 7 times so far. But if FaZe can shut them down, if FaZe can get that early start, then maybe SSG won't be able to have that momentum they so desperately would need.
Renegade. Shock and camo. As he lines up Eco, but it just whiffs away. Will land the body shot and immediately get himself out of there. FaZe will continue to score. Pznguin in a 1v1. He goes down. Already tagged up a little bit from a previous engagement. Bound, puts a couple of shots down. And Eco will finally put the finishing touches onto that kill. FaZe have a little bit of progress, but nothing too substantial.
Often the first hill on Recharge King is one of my favorites to watch because you really have to strategize where you're going to be holding. Do you start planning for the next hill early on, or are you going to commit to just getting the point and potentially giving the other team an opportunity to set up themselves? But now Eco has the shock to work with on C-Plat. He's just being patient. He knows that FaZe are going to try and take C priority here, and he's trying to deny it.
Now we remember the reason why they won this game last time these two teams matched up is because Eco had the shock rifle and he was absolutely beaming every single player's face. He went on an illustrious run, commanding the shock rifle, commanding the map. FaZe Clan have got to shut him down here, and they do.
And how many times have we seen, you know, this iteration of a FaZe roster that was previous Sentinels going up against Eco's squads and them just saying, well, we just got Eco'd at this event, right? You got outsmarted, you got out-strategized by Eco Smith, who is one of the best minds that we have in Halo Infinite. Is it going to be the same old story, or can FaZe Clan shut down Eco? I do think that Eco's on a little bit of a tear after what happened at the World Championships. We even saw him tweet out saying, you know, that one's on me. I'm disappointed, the team's disappointed, but he's taking the blame, and now he'd love to make up for that here at this event.
Shows great character to shoulder the blame after a very difficult loss. Very easy, almost too easy, to point the fingers at your teammates. But he held his hands up, rightfully or not. Here is the man, looking to propel his team forward here. Matching up against the old enemy once more. Bottom middle, still yet to be claimed by either team.
It's been such a tough first hill. Both teams have just been fighting, not necessarily for hill control, but for map control. This first hill can really define how the map is going to go, and both teams are well aware of that. Quite similar in terms of slays at the moment, but FaZe Clan do have the edge by about 3 or 4. Bound can't stay alive. 3 now go down. This is FaZe's best chance to really secure this point, force SSG back, get a little bit of a spawn kill on the go, and you've got to control C-Plat at the same time. So I like this from SnakeBite. Make sure you've got a path so you can get there a little bit afterwards.
SnakeBite loses a couple of teammates, but numbers have evened up. 1v1 with the Pznguin. Can he slip and slide and take down the Snake? Not a fight you usually see on the National Geographic as a Pznguin versus a Snake, but the Pznguin comes out on top. Shots go down. 2 players backed up. Eco and StelluR eliminated from the equation for now. They'll be back with a vengeance. SnakeBite wins the 1v1. Puts on the wiggles. Starts shaking the hips. Finally, FaZe claim the bottom middle hill. And with 2 minutes and 40 on the clock, how many more will they need?
Well, they've done it perfectly there because SSG were down to just 1 player remaining over towards Turbine, and that meant it was easy pickings for SnakeBite not only to get the hill, but also to move towards the next one. Of course, now you prioritize the camouflage. No one in the vicinity to try and contest it, and that's going to be fantastic news here for FaZe, because now SnakeBite can utilize this camouflage to get behind enemy lines and stop any sort of SSG push.
SnakeBite with the cloak of invisibility. Sorting hat says Slytherin. Can he push in and do some damage? Pznguin with the disruptor will back him away, but a little whip to the face takes one out. And that disruptor continues to tag up Renegade and do the damage. 2 dead apiece.
It was temporarily a one-on-one there, SnakeBite and Bound, but I think that SnakeBite knows here this camo can really make the difference. He's well aware of a shock rifle on the other side too, but now you've run out of your camo. So neither team really being able to get any big old points in the second hill here. It's just been a fight, a dogfight down long haul. And Bound still ripping faces, and Pznguin's there to assist. In SSG, they hold on strong, but now here comes the rest of the bandwagon.
Huge win by Pznguin. Frosty and Pznguin now. We're the last alive for a moment, but Penguin's positioned perfectly with the shock rifle. They claim a little bit more time. This setup in long haul is so difficult to break.
Especially if you've got someone who can hit shots with a shock as well. So that's the job here for Pznguin. Well, there we go, job complete. Tick one off the checklist. Connects with a second as well, should be able to follow up, and Pznguin almost makes it 3. Has the help, has the support, and now SSG surely should be securing this point and tying it up 1-1.
Pznguin and SSG starting to go through the gears. Starting to piece together some semblance of control now. 1-1. Strongholds recharge. Or King of the Hill, excuse me. Another shock rifle shot connects. StelluR gets dispatched. 3v3 in the map. Hills move the bottom elevator. Who's got the stones to claim it here?
FaZe are still outslaying Space Station, so they won't be too disheartened to lose a point there. I think it was inevitable as soon as they lost that engagement down long haul, but they have now been able to set up for this next elevator hill. And if Frosty does go down here, that provides an opening. SSG need to take this. They need to send full waves of players in to try and stop this hill, which they do. They achieve it, and it was all back off the Needler play.
FaZe about 3/4 of the way to their second hill. But they have to get rid of the pesky StelluR, who's setting up shop here. Throwing down a couple of denial nades. No members of FaZe over that direction for the moment. Royal 2 starting to make the cross. Frosty's down, bottom elevator, gets away, sees the Needler, knows he's in trouble, gets the kill, 3 dead, setup broken.
I mean, if you're going to go up against a Needler, having some pillars around is one of the best ways to try and defend yourself. Just strafe between them, make sure those needles aren't going to connect with you. Frosty also can't connect with those final bullets. Bound will push in with a double, and it means FaZe Clan down to just 1. Royal 2's going to have to wait, but he might be stuck over towards pipes. He did get noticed, but at least he is still alive, otherwise that could have been trouble for FaZe. It's going to give them the room for one more push here to try and stop SSG from going 2-1 up.
SSG close to taking the lead here. Just need to stop this next push. Frosty's got the opening kill. 3 go down for SSG though. This is an opening. And FaZe walk on into bottom elevator. No music playing this time. StelluR and Pznguin positioned towards bottom control. Eco's bottom middle, no doubt, looking to come turbine. Have they got eyes on him? 2-1 the lead now. FaZe Clan regain control.
It's a big point as well. Only 1 minute and 38 left on the clock, so it's very rare we're going to see this game go all the way. So now this is when you start to think about using that clock to your advantage. This hill is a very difficult one to try and secure at times. So if you can get someone, maybe with a shock rifle, to watch from kind of the top middle area, from that ledge, you can be such a nuisance here to SSG. Are FaZe going to do something that we saw similarly Optic Gaming do quite a lot throughout this tournament and use the clock to their advantage?
2 go down. Frosty's about to join them though. All in the black screen as Pznguin locks in 2. Bound's able to scramble away, but only for a moment as Royal 2's grenades perfectly placed to get the job done. Pznguin will continue to score here. Pinging the camouflage, putting emphasis on it. He goes down to no shields. Renegade steps out, picks up the camouflage. This could be an opening to break the setup.
It's a lot of time that's been secured though here by SSG. Renegade can be the first one to really break this deadlock. Will do so by just putting a few warning shots into Pznguin. No one cleaned it up just yet, but as I say that, it's going to be all 4 dead if Pznguin goes down, but he's not going to go down without a fight. Finally, the setup is broken, but I think because of the amount of time SSG have scored, FaZe Clan are going to be reluctant to try and play the clock here. Instead, I think they have to go for the point.
1:03 on the clock. Bound throws a couple of grenades. Renegade's going to run into trouble, tries to get the trade. Unable to do so, though. Royal 2 with the commando. Puts a couple of shots into Pznguin. Will he land that grenade? Yes, he will. Perfectly positioned. And his second one gets the job done, or a teammate might have been there instead. 2 down for SSG. FaZe starting to retake control now and dictate the pace. What have SSG got in the chamber?
Well, SSG realistically one last push to try and break this hill. If you go 3-1 down with this amount of time left, you are probably done and dusted in this game. One's already fallen. Renegade gets the first one, but there is the trade from StelluR. That's massive. And now they need to work as a 3 to decide how they're going to push through. Do you send it over top middle? Yes, you do. StelluR's going to full send it, gets the support, and now SSG will blind through here.
SnakeBite desperately trying to live. Space Station in the hill. Has managed to just evade the attentions. Caught bound by surprise, but there's 2 members of SSG on hand. 3 dead for FaZe. The perfect break. Can Royal 2 get this kill? The answer's no. Somehow, some way, SSG survive. This game's on a knife's edge.
Well, Royal 2 was the last remaining player, just full sent it off spawn, made sure he got the nades down, made sure he stopped SSG from picking up easy time, but now he's got to do a lot of work again. Only 2 remaining players, and he goes for a swim. SSG eliminate all 4 members of FaZe, and they're going to tie this game up 2-2.
Pznguin immediately turns his attentions towards Turbine. Claims the pipes. Royal 2 though goes for the shock rifle spawn and gets handled pretty easily, it must be said. Frosty's in big trouble here in a 1v2. Will scamper away, but the audio footsteps will give the Frosty away. Bottom elevator, Pznguin gets handled as well. They're trading kills back and forth here.
Go into overtime then, next point wins, and it's going to be the Turbine Hill where this big old battle is going to go down. 2 more have fallen, and suddenly we're starting to see SSG catch up a little bit on the slays. As I say that, Frosty will make sure he responds. 78 kills for FaZe Clan right now, 75 for Space Station. There's only 3 in it. But what's important is that scoreboard at the bottom. Who can get this next point? Remember, Space Station have not lost a map 1 all series long, all tournament long. Can FaZe Clan change that? Can FaZe Clan maybe change the momentum of this series right from the get-go?
Perfect bait and switch from SSG. As Bound tiptoes back into the hill, clearing his angles first though. Royal 2 rains down some damage from top control. Disruptor will clear him out of the hill. Trades Renegade and Eco, but Bound will join him. And here comes Royal 2. Can he get the kill onto Pznguin? Yes, he can. StelluR slides in, thinks about getting away and does. Royal 2's just trying to hold this territory for his team, waiting for the cavalry. But here comes Bound, and it's only good for a trade.
3 versus 3. There's a little chunk of time for SSG, but it's not a crazy amount. Still no one from FaZe has dipped their toes in. And now, for the first time in the game, we are going to see both teams even on slays. Okay, FaZe have just taken the lead by 1. But at one point in this game, I think FaZe were outslaying SSG by about 10. They were in so much control. But Space Station was still able to off-spawn, contest them every single time, stop that hill from being grabbed too comfortably. But now FaZe starting to come to life in these final few moments.
FaZe have the numbers, but they haven't got the time on the board. Just trying to close the distance now. Spawning SSG over towards Long Haul, have numbers once more. Is this the moment? Is this the opportunity? Can they seize it? Double kill from SnakeBite. The last 2 remaining members positioned over towards control for Space Station. There's the spacemen running out of oxygen here as this game dwindles down. What can SnakeBite do?
He needs to be very aware of grenades here, and you can see he's very reluctant to take time because there's so many players on the map right now. That could be a nuisance, but it's a killing spree for SnakeBite. Elevator is where he's going to hold, needs assistance from the rest of the team, will find it as well. And now he works in tandem with Renegade, but Pznguin goes huge with a double. And now Space Station can start to score, and Space Station can start to put their first foot forward.
This game's like a pendulum swinging back and forth. Huge kills from Pznguin. Currently sitting at 25, 9 and 21. He is having a game to remember here. Can he drag SSG over the finish line in game 1? 18 seconds left on the clock. Will that play a factor? Or are SSG trying to win this here and now? SnakeBite trying to live as long as possible by also doing a little bit of damage. Pznguin's the last man standing here. He's going to fall. And is this the moment then for FaZe to finally seal the game?
Depends where SSG spawn here. Bound's going to get caught out bottom middle. Control is where StelluR is as well. You've got to really get those nades in, and someone needs to make a move to make a press onto Frosty here. Otherwise, it's going to be too easy for this point to be picked up.
FaZe look to hold and do. And they draw first blood. SSG do drop the first game of the series. All tournament. What a game that was.
So FaZe may be rewriting history books here, not allowing the crazy records we're seeing set by SSG when it comes to winning map 1s in series. I wonder whether that now is going to be a telltale sign of how this series is going to go. I would have put a lot of chips on Space Station taking that first initial map just based off the previous performance between these two teams and how impressive SSG have been at coming out of the blocks hot. Add to that the fact that FaZe have just lost the winners finals. It was all looking good for SSG, but maybe FaZe are going to be focused here, determined to get that rematch, to get into that grand final, but there is still a long way to go.
You would have put a lot of chips on it, and I would have eaten every single one of them. Taking a look at the highlights, Royal 2, putting down damage. Someone I want to talk about is SnakeBite. Had a very difficult end to that series against Optic Gaming. A lot of deaths going by the wayside, playing a little bit too fast, separate from his team. But he brought it back here in game number 1.
I think it's evident that SnakeBite can be the difference maker for this squad when he's playing at his very best, and you are going to have sometimes bad games throughout a tournament. I think that every player knows that that's a possibility, but it's how you bounce back from them. And I think we've seen that here in the first game. There were some very important sprees from SnakeBite. And I think everyone on that FaZe roster can be proud at how they have responded to that loss in the winners bracket, and it does show what professionals they are. As for SSG, I think that's going to be a little bit frustrating. I think it was there for them this game. It was ripe for the picking. But at the same time, they never got ahead on Slays. They were always 4 or 5 kills behind. They never really were able to control the map. It was constant trades that were happening. And we never really got to witness SSG at their very best when it comes to King of the Hill.
It is a testament to SSG how they find themselves down in Slays, but still are efficient when they get the kills, still kept themselves in the game, and at one point threatened to take the lead.
They did threaten to take the lead, and they honestly were very close to doing so if it wasn't for some heroic plays that we were able to see on the other side for FaZe. Speaking of heroic plays, are these two going to be the players that can make the difference in this upcoming Slayer game? We love to look at who is actually putting up those numbers when it comes to Slays. StelluR at the moment, 4.5 KD on average per game, and a 1.51 KD for himself. Frosty maybe not quite as high up there, but I think the SSG, that's what's been impressive about them this tournament, is they are up there with anyone when it comes to their slaying ability, and every single player as well. Their averages have been pretty nuts when it comes to slays. So that maybe bodes well for Space Station and their chances here in map number 2.
And as we load into map number 2, Live Fire Slayer. Can FaZe double their series lead? Or will SSG get themselves right back into the mixer? It's all to do here. Can FaZe navigate these choppy waters? Or will Space Station be able to drag them down deep? So important to control the sandbox. We've seen FaZe not do it against Optic. That has to change here and now, because SSG can make the difference here in game number 2, and we're underway.
We are underway, and we are going to see the sniper rifle instantly being where Renegade puts all his attention to. Support from Frosty as well, and I think that says a lot. You know, Frosty was the sniper of this team for years. Has that baton been handed over to the new blood, the new kid on the block? 4-1 already. Overshield now is where attention turns, and SnakeBite's lurking there, waiting, hoping he doesn't get hit by some nades. Being watched over, doesn't survive. What a push this is from SSG, by the way, and StelluR taking full advantage of the heat wave.
I love that from SnakeBite, pressing his eyes up against the wall. If I can't see them, surely they can't see me. Well, the grenades, they didn't need to. And Overshield's ripe for the picking into StelluR's chest as he offloads some of the power, distributes it evenly across the team. Sniper rifle in his hands here. As he opts to go over towards sandbags. Thought about Big Door for a moment. Damage goes down though. SnakeBite with a grenade will get the shield ripped clean off him, but not before landing that blow with the plasma pistol.
Plasma pistol shot was important, but I don't think it really will matter in the grand scheme of things. What was more important was StelluR getting those tags, hitting those scopes, as again he hits another body shot. I always stress that as long as you hit those body shots with a sniper rifle, you are still making a difference.
Royal 2 repulses that grenade away, and it somehow connects onto Pznguin along with SnakeBite's finishing grenade. 11 kills to 8. A lead, but a slender one. He go over towards green. Royal 2 will not have that information though. Opts to stay alive here. Turn his attention towards the overshield. This one could be big if they get their hands on it and build upon this lead. Pznguin goes down, but SnakeBite's going to join him. It's a 3v3 on the map for a moment. Numbers just favoring FaZe now. As Royal 2 lands one to the face, StelluR's gonna chase here, and he's gonna fall to his death as Overshield pops up.
I do remember earlier in the tournament as well, Space Station struggled a little bit against Complexity on this map. I believe it was actually a 50-49 victory for SSG against Complexity, and no disrespect to Complexity, they had an incredible tournament top 8, but FaZe is an entirely different beast here, have a 7-kill advantage already, and have the Overshield to work with, so things are looking good for FaZe Clan, but Space Station, one of the things I've always given them credit for is how well they react to going down, not just in a series, but sometimes in a game. There is always a plan B for this roster, and we'll have to see how they're going to try and achieve that.
You can see SSG just trying to run away from the Overshield player, and because of that, they isolate him and eliminate him. 3 dead, though, for SSG. The Overshield doing its job. Pznguin down to no shields, Renegade there to pick up the pieces. All 4 go down, and FaZe are in the ascendancy now.
Does seem like FaZe are locked into this series and they have their eyes firmly set on a rematch. They look like a different kind of beast when you look at what they've been able to achieve previously in this tournament and maybe their expectations of getting to that grand final as well. Let's be real, anything short of a grand final would be a disappointment for this roster. And to these 4 players, I think anything less than a win at this tournament would be disappointment. They do have to get there first. Frosty sending one back, gets the stick. And now it is going to be a big old lead. This is a difficult time for SSG because not only you've got to try and get out of some of these spawn traps, but to overturn a deficit like this, you're going to need these next overshields. You're going to need a sniper rifle, and someone's going to have to turn up.
It's important to note as well with FaZe, as this season carries on and continues, this version of FaZe right now is the worst we'll ever see them. They're only going to grow and build in confidence, learn new strategies. And they're a tall order for anybody right now. As SnakeBite rips Pznguin's visor clean off. StelluR pops out. Body shot from SnakeBite. Can he back away and live though? Still trying to train his eyes on Overshield.
Overshield's up. FaZe have got their eyes firmly set on it. Let's see what the comms are like and jump into a listening.
Nice.
Another one weak in the corner.
Yeah, dead.
3 dead. I'm trying to watch. I'll skybound. Just keep living with it.
Good job, guys. Way to fucking square for that.
Cuts.
You
want time in? John, shoot B right now. Take your PR. We're gonna kill all these. B in big door. Nice, John. I got damage. Another one big door. One in. Dead. Just sit here. We're gonna spawn screens. 3 seconds. We're gonna go. Yep. John.
There's one Obi.
Yeah, I'm walking up.
On me.
You play to live forever. Best you can, John. One shot dead. Another one weak. That's weak. I'll kill all these guys. Give me. Yeah, two. One's bottom mid on heat wave.
Nice, John.
One's bottom mid on heat wave.
3 dead, guys. 3 dead. Make sure we get map. Play for info.
Yo, Matt is already pushing tower.
You live,
You just spawn elbow. They're gonna spawn elbow.
One in mud.
Are you? I'm gonna help you get out. One's back B on spikes.
Let's go.
I got you, BJ. I have you.
Which one's one? Nice, guys. Good fucking help. Good shit. Let's go. Keep this up.
Ready? I'm looking. Tower. Yo, Matt, after we kill this guy, we go time mid, okay?
Yeah.
No, let's go time mid.
I'm gonna end a play.
Yo, you down your body, John?
I think there's
Just aim by.
Another one weak. Nice, 2 dead.
Two. One about it. Absolute mud.
Fast-paced upbeat as FaZe Clan look to extend that lead by even more. It's a triple as well. Space Station look like they're done and dusted in this game as FaZe, the way they collapsed shows, the way they called the spawns, the way they knew exactly how they wanted to play out, it was almost flawless.
Only requiring 5 now. And StelluR's in a 1v1. And against Renegade, very few win it. Ego will pick up the pieces. Frosty scoops up the overshield. And is he about to apply the finishing touches to game number 2 here as he sits on a grenade and does seal the victory. FaZe up 2. One more and they get another crack at the Kings.
How does SSG respond then? Like I said, I will always give them credit for having a plan B. But do they have a plan C? Do they have a plan D? Because they might have to be diving deep into the playbooks here to stop whatever it is we're witnessing from FaZe Clan, who seem determined to have that rematch in the grand final. Next up though is going to be Aquarius Capture the Flag. Does bode pretty well for Space Station Gaming. They found a lot of success from it. Not just at this tournament, but plenty of previous ones as well. It's tried, it's tested, it's not exactly new for them at this point. But you can say the same with FaZe, right? FaZe have played this 1,000 times as well, and with momentum on their side, And unfortunately, with the curse of maybe us commentating the last 4 times has been a 3-0, maybe the writing's on the wall here that FaZe might be going into a grand finals.
You spoke about plans, A, C, and D, and I think B might be bathroom. I've seen a couple of the players standing up and dashing off. Maybe just to regain some composure. Those 2 games got away from them, particularly that StelluR, very quickly. But as we head into Aquarius capture the flag, Dan, who is this one favoring?
I think that SSG statistically have been a little bit stronger when it comes to Aquarius capture the flag. But at the same time, at this tournament, we saw another close game against Complexity. So similarly to that StelluR we just saw, you know, it was a 50-49 against Complexity, and then suddenly it's a 50-26 or whatever it was against this FaZe clan roster. So I just think that FaZe have everything you could want in a team right now to get to a grand final. I think it was built from the ground up. They knew full well that that was going to be their target for this tournament, and they don't really have weak points. It's something I was discussing with some of the players on FaZe, because I noticed there was maybe one map that was bad for them, one map in mode. I think it was Stronghold's live fire is not really working out for them during the qualifiers. Everything else is positive, which is kind of crazy. As we look at other statistics elsewhere, it's the KD leaderboard. Renegade is leading the way. Also, shout out Suppress for being number 2. We were talking about Complexity, and there he is, writings on the wall. But is Renegade now going to be using these slays in a way, in this Aquarius capture the flag, to push FaZe back into that grand final? I certainly think there is a high chance of it.
The stats also reflect Eco sitting at 4th there with a 1.22, very close to Renegade. And it just goes to show you, when he said at Worlds that that one's on me, he went back to the drawing board, back to the lab, put the white coat on, reflected, and he's come out and been his best version of himself in this tournament. But he finds himself down by 2 now. And last year we spoke about some of the best players in the game, and the top 3 for most people was Lucid, Renegade, and Frosty, and 2 of them now sit on the same team. Is it only a matter of time in this series, in this tournament, in a tournament before we see them grab gold?
I think certainly that's the aim, that's the plan, that's what they've been building towards, but maybe SSG still have an answer here in this series. I don't want to count them out. Eco is a tactician. Eco will have plans, and sometimes a series layout, you can find yourself 2-0 down. Look at what just happened in the winners finals, right? FaZe were 2-0 up there. They got reverse swept by Optic Gaming. FaZe know they cannot afford to let this one slip through their fingers, just as they did only, what, an hour ago. Otherwise, SSG will take full advantage of that and make them pay. Is that going to be in the back of the mind here of FaZe Clan? Can they manage to just push past that, get this one locked down, get themselves into a grand final, and then we'll get to see that rematch against Optic Gaming?
Is this break a tactic, a ploy by SSG just to take some of the steam, some of the wind out of the FaZe Clan sails? All 4 members and coach have remained on the stage, locked in, lasered. And as we look at the stats, you spoke about SSG, and how good they've been. 5-1 on Aquarius CTF to FaZe's 4-1. Almost identical records.
Yeah, this is just CTF in general rather than Aquarius specific, but the only time we've seen SSG lose a CTF game, it was against FaZe Clan. It was in that previous series, so everything does point towards the FaZe roster taking this one, but I really just want to see SSG, you know, take this bathroom break, assess what's going wrong, and make sure they focus up now going into this game. Because if we do see them start to pop off, we've seen glimpses of it. We've seen some incredible multi-kills that have come out from that SSG roster, but they've not been able to maybe build around it. They've not been able to build off of it and gain that momentum at all. And perhaps that does come from the game 1. Losing that King of the Hill was probably the nail in the coffin, the first nail, but now it's going to be hammered in here by FaZe if we see them take an early lead.
FaZe up by 2. Are they about to put SSG to the sword? Still a lot of Halo left to be played, and it's right that you touch upon what we've seen on our screens only but an hour ago. They were up by 2, and they let it slip through their fingers. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. There were so many close games in that last series. There was a close game in the first of this series, but it is the time for them now to lock this one down.
If they are going to be locking it down, I think it has to start with their defensive ability when it comes to capture the flag as well, SSG. On average, they are allowing around 10 steals per game, and you can't be allowing that many flags to be grabbed regardless of what map you're playing on, because then it just allows for possibilities of people to get that flag across to the other side of the base. they aren't really playing in a way that stops people from taking flags. Instead, they seem to be pushing to take flags of their own, leaving themselves exposed, and then the counter caps start to happen. If SSG can find a way to stop that from happening, maybe by playing a little bit more rigid, a little bit more structured, and denying these flag pools, naturally they should be able to start gaining the advantage on the map and then getting flag pools of their own.
Well, it was something we've seen Optic do in games 3, 4, and 5, right? They slowed the pace of the games down and allowed FaZe to push to them. And that was why we've seen SnakeBite step out a little bit too much and expose himself and rack up those deaths very quickly. If you slow down, if you can set the traps up here, FaZe could be in trouble.
FaZe could be in trouble, yeah. I think setting traps is the perfect way to try and stop FaZe from having too much of a momentum shift going into this map number 3. Because FaZe are going to be feeling themselves, they're going to be confident, they're going to be throwing themselves into BR fights, they're going to want to clean this one up as quick as possible so they can get to that grand finals. Use that to your advantage. Expect them to be challenging you. Expect them to be pushing around that corner when maybe they've hit a nade off you. And as long as you're calling that, as long as you're communicating to your teammates about that, you can expose it and you can take advantage of it.
We have SSG back in seats. We can only speculate what the comments were like during that break, what they discussed. But as we load into Aquarius CTF, is this FaZe's moment to take down the Grand Final Guardians, the Gatekeepers? Or do the Spacemen have something left in the tank? It's been a grueling tournament for SSG in this elimination bracket, as it often is. Swatting teams, slapping the taste out of mouths. But is this the moment where this is just a little bit too far? We're about to find out if FaZe have enough to get the job done here in Game 3. And we're starting off with the General and SnakeBite.
Remember, this Space Station roster made every Grand Finals last year. They were the best average placing team in the HCS. And they are now on the cusp of being eliminated here in 3rd place as FaZe look to try and get into that Grand Finals. Already, we see one of those steals that I was talking about. Space Station not able to stop SnakeBite from just maneuvering his way into the base and getting a touch already.
SnakeBite, one of the fastest flag runners in the HCS. And he made no qualms about getting straight into the base and pulling flag, but unfortunately for him, he does fall. Renegade though with the camouflage behind StelluR. Sizzle Stick goes down, will take the shields away, but Renegade's not going to step out. He's going to let that do the job itself. Getting tanked up in the backbone. His replacement on SSG gets the better from here.
You say he's one of the fastest flag runners, and now I just have it in my head of a 100-meter sprint in real life where they have to carry flags. Do you think he'd still be one of the fastest flag runners?
No, I actually don't. Maybe he can get some sort of sneaker deal. Insert brand here. Frosty steps away for a moment. You can see why getting tagged up left, right, and center. Gets taken down. And for Eco, driving his team forward here. Pznguin picks up the pieces of the damage that was done elsewhere.
Well, SSG, they're down 2-0 in the series. They need something. They went for the bathroom break, and Eco maybe has rallied the troops. Let's see what the communication's like and jump into a listening.
He's up again. He's up again.
I'm gonna run it. I'm one shot, bro. I'm gonna turn around though. I died.
Watch out the window. Watch out window. Watch out window. Stuck on the pillar. Stuck on the pillar.
My fault. It's my fault. Can we relocate?
R2. Try maze. Yeah,
Alright, 3 in there, Jin. They're Jin's one shot.
I'm looking at camo.
Our high hall maybe. Our high hall dead.
P2 to camo. P2 to camo.
Yeah, he's weak.
SnakeBite might be their car jump.
Just hit a P2 John their side. Your John's P2 their side.
Top car weak.
They're P jump weak. They're P jump weak. I'm looking car 3. Our high hall side.
Got him.
John was P2. John was P2.
Look at it.
I can
Get
get
RP.
it.
RP. One shot P2. 2 P2. 1 RP.
One shot pink 2 behind on the nades. Dead. SnakeBite spawner. Camo's down top mid. Watch out our shrooms.
Do that or not?
Pink 2.
I hear you P2.
Shrimp dead.
One shot on me P2.
One shot of shrimp.
Coming back. Where'd you have that? Nice job. Good job.
On me P2. I died. P2.
We
P2.
get
I
reach.
have shocks.
Top car.
They're P. Car 2. Car 1 weak.
Or shocks on. Or car out.
Thrust down.
Fridge.
Look at our rebrate.
P-tunnel our flag. P-tunnel our flag in a pink 1. Weak car P-door. Really weak car P-door.
The bird.
We're just going for someone trying to go. Yeah, good shit, dude.
2 flag.
Other flag. Yeah, I spot B. I'm coming.
Turn our flag.
Our bridge, both of them.
I'm trying right now. I'm coming.
One went. Bridge.
One
Bridge.
Our thresh is up.
On you, Adam.
John's P2.
Our flag weak.
John's peek 1 to our front base, and Brad's there. Pink jump up to pink 2.
I'm looking bottom middle.
John is around there. John's around there. You could flank.
I think he is.
He's on fridge.
He's in our fridge. Two here.
I can help. I'm in our
Front base
front.
weak. 2 shot on the front peak. In the fridge.
I think he's one shot.
In the fridge full.
He's not.
Yeah, they're flag. Shoot him in the back with the commando.
They're gonna be gather court for.
It was quiet to begin with, but starting to get a little bit louder now that Space Station are taking advantage of some slays. They're up by 5 when it comes to their slaying ability here, and maybe that's going to force FaZe Clan back a little bit into their base and give SSG a real chance of going to get capped.
Stark contrast in the communications, it would seem, on the listening. 4 dead then for SSG. Pznguin, the first spawner, trying to keep his base safe. As the rest of his members spawn up around them. Renegade done the initial damage. Frosty trying to follow it in here. Stepped out a little too far. And somehow, Eco manages to land the shots. Onto Renegade. Royal 2 then. Heat wave in hand. Can he cook up a storm? Can he fry some of SSG? SnakeBite with the camouflage had the help from Frosty, and he needed it.
Can he take something away from what Trippy was able to do in the previous series with that heat wave? He went on an absolute tear, but slightly different in CTF, but Royal 2 still putting it to use. The flag on the move. And that means Royal 2 has a game plan here. It's survive in the back of the base and be a nuisance and eventually pop out and try and surprise SSG.
Is he waiting just a little bit too long? Has finally put some damage down. The flag has been touched. That will reset the timer. It's down in the courtyard. Royal 2 trying to bait it as he now turns his attentions back to top middle. He stepped away from the base. A couple of shots will go down. 2 dead for SSG. Frosty in the enemy base. Bound gets absolutely fried to the core. Pznguin positioned over towards Carbine. Do they know he's there? Grenade goes down. It will land at the feet and connect with Pznguin. Can they get this flag moving? 3 members of SSG move straight over to Carbine to try and cut this flag off, but all 4 dead fall.
And again, it all comes back from Royal 2 initially in that base with the heat wave. He was a presence, if nothing more, scaring SSG to have to take a certain route. And it meant they were easy pickings as FaZe take the first flag and put themselves 1 step closer to that grand final.
All 4 dead again. FaZe are starting to cook. And Pznguin's in the fridge. Is he just becoming a condiment? Yes, he is. Flag moves courtyard. Shortly up the shroom stairs, the SnakeBite tries to clear some angles. But the flag stops in its tracks. SSG on hand to try and send this one home. And perhaps FaZe just look happy to let this one go and reset the map.
Yeah, it was very patient play there from SnakeBite. He knew he didn't have to desperate onto that flag. Oh, if you do desperate it, if you give SSG the opening, that's when you leave yourselves open to that potential counter cap. But now Eco has Heatwave, has Camouflage. If anyone's going to get something going here, has to be this map.
Steps away, does SnakeBite. Recognizes he's in trouble. 2 members of SSG converge. 2 down. Renegade and SnakeBite have to watch their teammates rally here. Another flag will get sent home for SSG. They managed to stay alive here for a moment. Bound slides out, a victim of timing it would seem there though. And FaZe really doing a good job of clearing their base.
You can feel it now for SSG. They're fighting for their tournament lives. They are throwing themselves at FaZe Clan. They're not allowing these flags to just easily transfer across the map. Instead, they are putting everything and their bodies on the line to stop when they can and when it's available. Eco thrusting his way in and out of fights right now. He's been such an awkward player at the back of the base, but SnakeBite eventually shuts him down.
SnakeBite currently on all the 11s. 11 kills, assists and deaths. Another player having a game to remember right now. Frosty, 27 and 14. That's a snowman, has been heating up. Can SnakeBite secure the kill? He can, along with the commendation of a killing spree. 4 minutes 25 on the clock. FaZe currently hold a 1-0 lead.
I hope Frosty doesn't heat up too much because that's slightly concerning if it's a snowman getting hot. Instead, I'd maybe prefer a little bit of a freezing temperature, but it does seem to be like 4 minutes remaining. FaZe Clan still on top. When it comes to slays, they've got about a 7-kill advantage. So remember, earlier, Space Station had the lead. They had a little bit of control But ever since that flag was captured, FaZe have kind of used that momentum. They've been on top, they've been holding the right angles, and a couple of camouflages have gone their way, as maybe this next one will as well. Frosty poises himself to grab it, will grab it, and now it's about what you want to do with it. No, he gets denied.
Camouflage falls. Along with 2 members, it actually got scooped up, didn't get the burn. Renegade with it in his chest, just stalking like the Predator. And Renegade wants some candy now, rolling up the fridge, with nothing but menace in his eyes. Behind 2 members of SSG here. Some friendly fire, some friendly tags from the sizzle stick. But it matters not. Flag on the move now. Renegade like a UAV trying to download information and pass it to his teammates. Playing so patient, but StelluR spots him out.
Spots him out, he was the last remaining player as well, so this is good for SSG. Brilliant nade from Pznguin. And this is the best chance of ever for Space Station to set up and try and break through now into FaZe Clan's base. 3 minutes remaining. It is not a commanding lead by any means, right? It's only a 1 flag lead, and it does remind me of that winners final, how close FaZe were to winning 3-0, being 1 hill away, but then being denied by Optic Gaming. Can maybe SSG start to put something together here? They need to work in tandem, and they need to work as a unit, but Eco's being denied, but 2 have gone down for FaZe. Just seems like every single time Space Station get close, there's someone to do some damage, as though this could be the chance.
Could be an ARV finish. Frosty waits bottom middle to try and stop the flag and head it off the pass. He's been successful, but it's a 2v2 on the map, and you can hear it now as StelluR tries to touch base with the flag, has to back away, forced to. Can he pick up the kills here? Renegade's in trouble, flag gets touched, it's on the move, and this could be trouble for FaZe Clan.
3 were dead, Royal 2 is the last remaining player. He tries to do the damage from a distance, but the flag is still moving, and it looks like we might be tying things up here, so Space Station will come to life. It is not done just yet, and we're all tied up, 1-1.
Just under 2 minutes on the clock. Bound with camouflage, coming to life at just the right time. In the 11th hour. Not trying to go out without a fight. Frosty gets shot in the back, tries to back away, has the help, will be a trade, and 3 go down for SSG.
SSG just need to stabilize a little bit. Need to make sure they regain some map control that they lost during that flag run, as they had to, of course, commit so hard to go down for SSG. And that means now FaZe are going to look to try and push in, maybe get a flag full of their own, especially if Renegade gets that kill, and he can start to run this flag.
Opportunity then. If Renegade can round the corner, which he has, avoids the grenades, it does touch him just a little bit to keep his shields to 1 shot. Happy to move this flag anyway. 2 down for SSG right now. Is there anybody that can get a touch? Is there anybody that can answer the call? As Renegade just about fumbles the flag, but it's not enough. 2-1 to FaZe.
A perfect answer from FaZe Clan, and maybe that's going to be the final nail in the coffin here for SSG, and perhaps that incredible run of Grand Final after Grand Final may finally come to an end here in Charlotte. 50 seconds, 1 last, maybe 2 pushes here for SSG. But after getting that tied game ripped away from them so quickly, I wonder whether maybe they're going to be bowing their heads in defeat already.
3 dead for SSG. And members of FaZe positioned perfectly here to stop any push. It's desperation for Bound over on the fridge. Will fire a couple of shots, but will go down. Renegade tries to back away. Eco's in a world of hurt in the courtyard. And Frosty hits 4 fresh shots. 15 seconds remain.
FaZe are just going to set themselves up here, make sure that flag can be taken, but actually a flag gets pulled right under Frosty's nose. StelluR gets the first. This has got to be it now for SSG.
Oh!
2 down, but Frosty with a big kill. Make it 3 down. SSG have to get a touch here.
Renegade, it's so important that you get the damage, but the time ran out.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. We've jumped the gun.
No, it
Flag gets sent home, and FaZe will be going to the Grand Finals.
An incredible run of form from this SSG roster that saw them in the Grand Finals all year long. It comes to an end in 2023 with the new HCS season. They will fall in 3rd place. It's now the time for FaZe Clan to show up and to get their rematch against Optic Gaming.
Is this the dawn of a new day for FaZe Clan? Much of last year shrouded in disappointment, but now they have a championship caliber team. Can they now go one better? It's gonna have to be done the hard way though.
Well, they've burst the eco bubble finally, and they've got over that hurdle, but now it's an entirely new one as we go to a grand final against an Optic Gaming roster who have already reverse swept FaZe. Remember, FaZe now are going to have to win not just one series, but two. It's going to be a best of 7. If they win the first one, we go again until we find out who is going to be our champions here at HCS Charlotte. FaZe certainly looked a different beast in that game, right? I thought that maybe they'd be a little bit dejected, a little bit slow out of the blocks, but no, they knew exactly what they needed to do to beat this SSG team. And it was in that first game where I feel like this series was going to be won or lost, and FaZe showed so much character and showed they truly are determined to get to that grand final.